At last, my children, the time has come! Roll that beautiful, decently 3D rendered intro! Hello, friends, and welcome to Summer of Mario 2022. Yes, here we are again for the 5th year in a row. God, 5 years. It's really been that long, hasn't it? Now Summer of Mario has become a long-standing tradition on this channel that's given me the opportunity to share my love for some of the games I grew up playing and explore other aspects of the franchise that have left me either pleasantly surprised or psychologically scarred. I got some really fun stuff planned for you guys, so let's not waste any more time and kick things off with something I'm sure everybody loves: mobile gaming! Anyone? No? Not even you? Greg? Alright, I guess mobile gaming isn't really taken that seriously these days, but many forget that the advent of the mobile market as we know it today practically changed the gaming industry forever. The novelty of playing electronic games on the go has been around since as far back as the 1970s, when playing games could be as much fun as mashing keys on a calculator. But then Nintendo was able to make LCD games relatively charming with the Game & Watch line, which gradually evolved into the original Game Boy. Over the next 20 years or so, they would face competition from Sega, Atari, and Sony.
Hells yeah! Hells yeah!
What the hell? But through the Game Boy to the DS, Nintendo pretty much dominated the handheld gaming scene. Then, like how an apple fell from a tree to reinvent modern scientific theory, the company Apple introduced the technological marvel that was the first iPhone, which had an app store that could let consumers play quality games to keep them busy while they're on the toilet or sexting significant others on the toilet. There were attempts at bringing video games to mobile phones before, with all those weird Java Flash games made for Blackberries and Motorola phones, and I guess if you want to count the N-Gage, then go right ahead. But the App Store almost single-handedly revolutionized the way games could be played, and a lot of games available on there were free to play as well, so that level of accessibility made it more appealing to those who couldn't afford a 3DS when it was brand new. Of course, this also led to the digital marketplace being flooded with knockoffs and other trashy and weird abominations of nature, but the mobile market has consistently brought in casual players and remains hugely successful to this day. With Nintendo having such a firm grasp on the handheld scene for decades up until then, you'd think they would want to, no pun intended here, tap into this new market and capitalize on its steady rise and success. Well, Nintendo's rarely ever made a Mario game or a Zelda game on anything other than their own consoles. And if there's anything else you should know about Nintendo, it's just how long it takes for them to keep up with the times. So it wasn't until 2015 when they finally decided to try and get a piece of the mobile pie and announced a partnership with the company DNA to produce smartphone-based content. I remember being surprised when I heard the news, but I think I was more curious about what kind of games Nintendo would be making for the platform. And their first foray into mobile gaming arrived in the form of Miitomo, released in March 2016. And it was not at all what we were expecting. I was in my first semester of college when this game came out, and I put it in quotes because it wasn't really a game. From what I recall, it was basically a stripped-down version and a very heavily stripped-down version of Tomodachi Life. It was kind of fun for a while, there were laughs to be had, and the memes were bountiful. These questions are giving me cancer. I can feel tumors growing on my back? Absolutely! But eventually, some of Nintendo's bigger IPs would make their way to mobile devices, such as Fire Emblem, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, and obviously their superstar plumber. Mario's actually had quite a few mobile games, and with all that long-winded backstory out of the way, let's finally talk about them, starting with Super Mario Run. I remember this game being heavily promoted when it was coming out. I even saw when it was featured on The Tonight Show, and it looked pretty fun.
Yeah!
My only problem was that it was initially exclusive to iOS, and I didn't have an iPhone because that would mean giving Apple my money, and I don't want to have to do that. I don't care if their streaming service has Peanuts and Jon Stewart. This is pandering, and I don't appreciate it. Oh, you gotta be freaking kidding me. I figured it wasn't gonna take that long for the game to come to Android devices. You know, the better option. And sure enough, there it was on the Google Play Store just a few months later. One thing everybody seemed to complain about, however, was that whether you were playing on iOS or Android, the game in its entirety wasn't completely free. You could play the first 4 stages, but then you had to pay $10 to play the rest of it. I can see why people would take issue with this. Other games of its style were free to play, and Mario Run might not have been considered big enough to justify the price. But for Nintendo, this was a big risk, and they weren't quite sure if it was going to pay off, so I think it's fair. You still get a sense of what the game is like, and if you enjoy it, you can shell out a couple extra bucks for the whole experience. But if you don't like it, you can just, No! It is only $10, too. It's not like they're asking you to put a mortgage on your house just to play it. Whether that risk actually paid off or not is what we've yet to find out. So, what is Super Mario Run? Well, it's a side-scrolling auto-running game where you have to get your character to the end of a stage. You still have enemies to jump on and coins to collect like you would in any other Mario game, but how you actually go about doing those things is a little different. Jumping is all done by using the touchscreen, and you can stay in the air longer by holding down your thumb or tapping the screen again to do a spin in midair. When you throw wall jumping and Goomba stomping into the mix, this control scheme has the potential to be pretty cumbersome, but not only do they have a lot of empty space at the bottom of the screen for you to tap so that you can still see what's going on, your character can also automatically run over small pits and vault over enemies and blocks to keep the momentum going. But, I've had this phone for over 3 years, and I think I might be wearing my screen down because while recording footage, my characters decided to do some interesting things. If I had to make a guess, I would say 95% of the mistakes I made during my playtime were completely my fault. The other 5% were due to issues with the phone's screen, leading to multiple instances of my character jumping into hazards when I did not mean for them to.
Jumping into this piranha plant.
Wasn't me.
Jumping into this saw blade.
Wasn't me.
But that one was totally me, my bad. Oh, here's my favorite one, where Daisy just kept on wall jumping back and forth. I wasn't even touching the screen at all. I just put my phone down and watched her do this on her own. Oh, yeah, you know how I kept saying your character instead of just Mario? Well, in case you couldn't tell from the footage, Super Mario Run does indeed have multiple playable characters. You got Mario, obviously, but then you got Luigi with his higher jump, Peach can hover for a little bit, Toad can run the fastest, the Yoshis can flutter jump, and then there's Daisy, who can double jump. I found myself using her a lot, and it's really cool to see her in action. I hope she pops up like this again in future games. You can also play as Toadette, but outside of luring in more Toads of different colors in Toad Rally, she might as well be Mario in a Toadette costume. Ugh, I thought I suppressed those nightmares. But, yeah, Super Mario Run is also broken up into different modes. In Toad Rally, you can race against other players and compete to see who can earn the most coins in a single run. And whoever wins gets some of the other players' Toads, and collecting enough Toads of specific colors will help you unlock more playable characters. As for the main campaign, you've got World Tour, which is structured more like a classic Mario game. There are 6 worlds with 4 levels apiece. Power-ups like the Super Mushroom and the Superstar are available to you, so you can still take a few extra hits. Oops. But each stage also has 5 of these fancy pink coins for you to collect, and after finding them all, you can then go after purple coins, and then black coins, which are more like a muddy green, but whatever. These are all placed in different parts of the level, but never in the same place as each other. So the black coins won't be where the purple coins were, and the purple coins won't be where you found the pink coins. As someone who's been getting weary of having to find star-themed collectibles in Mario games, I actually kind of like this approach, because it means you have to run and jump through each stage in a slightly different way to find them all. testing your platforming skills in the process. It does mean having to go through each stage 3 separate times and possibly using bubbles to backtrack or starting all over if you miss a few coins, which did get a little repetitive. But the levels are short enough so that you don't lose too much progress from going back to the beginning, and they're long enough so that you don't just breeze through them in a matter of seconds. So, in my opinion, it evens out pretty nicely. Well, how the hell did that happen? The mode I seem to spend the most time in is Remix 10, where you go through 10 stages at a time to rescue Daisy at the end of Area 30, and also try and collect as many bonus medals as you can. Some levels are modified versions of World Tour stages, and others are secret courses that, oh, well, that's nice. Thankfully, there doesn't seem to be a penalty for dying as long as you're able to clear the last stage. Clearing one set of 10 will make the next set of 10 available, and so on with no clear end in sight. After getting enough bonus medals, you can then play through a bonus stage that'll reward you with buildings and scenery to add to your kingdom, which leads me to the Kingdom Builder. After Bowser captures Peach, the Mushroom Kingdom is left in disrepair, and you can customize and rebuild it however you want, with plants, houses, statues, blocks, you name it. This mode doesn't give you as much creative freedom as, say, Stardew Valley or whatever, but once you level up enough, you can unlock further parts of the kingdom and decorate it even more. Decorations can be bought from a shop using coins, or obtained through special events like anniversaries and tie-ins to newer games, like this Pauline statue for when Super Mario Odyssey came out.
Let's do the Odyssey.
I swear to God, I've had this thing for like 5 years, and I had no idea she could do that until now. That is genuinely really cool. Super Mario Run isn't the most substantial game in the franchise, but when it comes to taking the Mario formula and shifting it to smartphones, I think it does a pretty great job. It has an incredibly simple control scheme that's implemented very well. It surprisingly gives you a lot of stuff to do, all without needlessly shoving microtransactions into your face, which I think further justifies the $10 price tag. And it's just a nice sort of pick up and play kind of experience that makes for a fun way to kill some time. They definitely played it safe in terms of aesthetics, however. The game blatantly reuses assets from New Super Mario Bros. U, and even most of the soundtrack is either ripped directly from that game, or remixed versions of tracks from that game. But, damn, those remixes slap harder than a dated joke. Remix 10 especially goes hard with the music. The song that plays in this mode is a techno mashup of songs from other games like Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario World, and even Super Mario Land, which is pretty fitting since you do have to rescue Daisy in this mode. There's also a woman singing over parts of it, which is a little off-putting because she keeps telling me to show her my love, and I'm not entirely sure what she means by that. And sometimes it sounds like she stepped barefoot on a stray Lego brick. If you don't want to hear the music for those or any other reasons, then you can just turn it off. But in one of my absolute favorite details in any Mario game, doing so will give your character a pair of headphones, so they can still hear the music, but you can't. It's just adorable, and I love it. Super Mario Run is basically the mobile equivalent to Super Mario 3D Land for me. Compared to other Mario games, it might not seem like much, but it's a perfect fit for the platform it was made for. I was genuinely impressed with how this game turned out, and honestly, I think future 2D Mario games should take notes from this one. Added playable characters, automatic acrobatics, try saying that 3 times fast, and maybe a more fleshed out version of Kingdom Builder could really add something to the 2D formula. Or, you can just give us a Wii U Switch port that nobody really wanted. That's cool. But less than 3 years later, Mario's next mobile outing came in the form of Dr. Mario World. I've already talked about this game in depth during my Dr. Mario retrospective back in 2020, but since then, something interesting happened. The game shut down. Yeah, just a little over 2 years after it was released. Nintendo decided to pull the plug on it, and they never really gave a reason as to why. Maybe it wasn't considered profitable? I don't know, but thankfully I managed to record some new footage before the servers went down, so this is just going to be a recollection of my experiences with the game after revisiting it. I didn't notice any major changes with the gameplay. It was pretty much about the same as I remember, but it was certainly much more generous than my last experience. If you recall, Dr. Mario World was plagued with microtransactions and purposefully made unlocking doctors and assistants a pain in the ass so that you'd be tempted to use real money to buy them outright. Well, in a later update, they made it so that you couldn't buy diamonds and character packs anymore, giving microtransactions much less of a focus. There were still times where you would get a doctor or an assistant that you already had, but at least you could just get them from the shop using in-game currency and be rewarded with diamonds and extra lives just by playing the game normally. Even though that's how it should have been in the first place, but that's appreciated. I turned to Jay Leno for a second there. I was also kind of shocked at how often the game would just give you stuff. Sometimes you'd have infinite lives in stage mode, free continues for when you run out of capsules, and lots and lots and lots of diamonds. Every day I'd see them in my gift box, and because they would give you so many, you didn't have to worry about spending them on power-ups and continues. It's like Dr. Mario World became that relative you don't really know that well, but you look forward to seeing because they bring you presents. And was also the luckiest miner in the world. The generosity extended to the Versus mode, where they apparently made it so that these prize boxes required less keys to open. Oh my god, how did I get so lucky? And I totally didn't fart while I was recording that part. I say apparently because I don't remember spending much time on this mode before, and I only really got into it after coming back to the game. Here I noticed that the players you paired up with varied in terms of the quality of their usernames. I don't know why, but seeing Bowser with the name Pretty Lady 1965 over him makes me think that's the name he uses for his alt accounts. Oh, and look guys, it's everybody's favorite Mario character, Edward! Opponents also varied greatly when it came to their skill level, so sometimes I got opponents with slightly less points or slightly more points than me. In this guy's case, he was only 1 point higher, and others would have way more, like 500 or 600 more. But the pattern in which opponents were chosen for you wasn't very consistent. You can get somebody 400 points above you, and then the next guy could only be above you by
11.
You never know how good or ridiculously overpowered players are going to be. So Versus mode also had something called weekly specialists, where certain doctors could give you advantages in battle. I actually tried this and went into matches using Fire Rosalina, one of the specialists that week, and wouldn't you know, it gave me much better results than I got from sticking with Bowser. Oh, great. Yeah, thank you for not clearing the row I actually needed you to clear. But Fire Rosalina, wow, she surprisingly kicks ass in this game. I'm definitely gonna have to use her more often. Oh, wait. I suddenly feel a wave of mild sadness washing over me. Yeah, I didn't think I would miss the game all that much after the servers went down, but after looking back at the footage I recorded, I realized, God, there were so many better ways I could have cleared those rows. Seriously, Past Marc, what the hell were you thinking? But I also found myself reflecting on the time I put into it. Dr. Mario World was already a pretty fun game for what it was when you look past all those obnoxious microtransactions, and the number of improvements made to it over time wasn't large, but the improvements themselves really made a difference, including getting rid of the microtransactions. Then again, maybe that's what led to the game being shut down. By stripping away its only real source of income, it might not have made sense financially to continue development. It's like the ending of Samurai Jack. This beast that's brought nothing but pain has been destroyed, but as a result, we lost the one thing related to it that actually gave us hope. P.S. I love this finale, shut up. So, I guess that's it, right? That's the last game we have to look at. There's nothing left. The video's over. What? No, there were no other Mario mobile games. Just those two. No, really, that's it. There's... Alright, fine. I'll talk about Mario Kart Tour. But if I have to, then I'm gonna need to make an apology first. I'm sorry, Mario Kart Super Circuit. For years, I always thought you were the low point of the series, but now I realize you weren't that bad. You were just misunderstood. I mean, you controlled like ass, but at least you let me play as Mario from the start. Okay, so I might have made a few jokes about this game in the past, but I don't think I've ever actually made my thoughts on it clear to you. Well, as you can imagine, they're not very positive. I mean, objectively, it's not even that bad, but I just hate it. I hate this game. I hate it. My hopes already weren't that high when it was first announced, and reactions from beta testers didn't do much to get me excited either. Presumably, in a state of wide-eyed naivete, I figured, well, Super Mario Run and Dr. Mario World came out pretty well, so maybe they can make this game work too.
They didn't.
Those games actually tried to stay true to their respective formulas, but this one? It's like they actively tried to get everything wrong. And it seems perfectly normal when you boot it up. You have cups like you would expect, and each one has 3 standard races, but instead of a 4th race, you're given a Mario Kart DS style mission where you have to perform a specific task, like completing a time trial or driving through rings. Who do you think you are, Superman? And since we're playing this game on a smartphone, the controls, as you'd expect, are all completely touch-based. It's far less fluent than the previous games and nowhere near the level of precision, but to give this game some credit, it actually does make some smart design choices. At least it does now. When Mario Kart Tour first launched, the entire game was locked in vertical mode, which made races even more of a struggle. But fortunately, they added the option to have races in horizontal mode, making the races a little more comfortable. This doesn't apply to the menus, however, which isn't a big deal, but the orientation flipping made me extremely anxious about how the footage was going to look when zoomed in. Oh god, I hope it doesn't look too blurry. Karts also have automatic acceleration, and drivers carry items behind them without you having to hold down a button. That way you can just rub your thumb against the screen to steer, or the drift button to drift. I didn't write this down, but it also has automatic drift, so that's nice too. But this is where I really started having issues with the controls, because steering and using items are both done by touching the screen. You have a dedicated drift button, like I just said, which is nice, but items should have been assigned their own button as well, because there were times where I would try to steer my cart in one direction, and then accidentally let go of an item I wanted to hold on to. Ah, phooey, there goes my green shell. Well, as long as I can still hit someone with it, that won't be so... I feel no joy in my soul. Okay, so I'm in the middle of editing this video now, and while looking back at the footage I've recorded, I realized that the game actually has an option where you can use both sides of the screen for different functions. So you can either use one side to steer, or another side to use items, or the whole screen. I didn't realize that initially, but yeah, I figured I would mention that. The game still sucks though, so let's get back to the video. Oh, God. I'm also convinced that item management wasn't prioritized by the dev team in any way, because for some reason the game just kept giving me mushrooms. I don't mind the occasional speed boost here and there, but there were times where I really needed something more useful, and the game was like, nope, you're getting a mushroom, when I really did not need it. Then when I actually did need mushrooms, I didn't get any. That's just a nice, good can of chicken noodle green pea soup. But sticking with items, racers can actually hold a different number of items based on which character you pick. Some can only carry 1, while others can hold up to 3. And when you get 3 of the same item, your character enters a frenzy mode that makes them invincible and lets you repeatedly use that item for a short time. How many items your racer carries also depends on the tracks you use them on, so characters that have 3 item boxes on some tracks might only get 1 or 2 on other tracks. Even if it's the same track, only with added ramps and obstructed shortcuts. And you see this happen a lot, because the same 3 or 4 tracks will be repeated and spread throughout each cup. They try to change it up a bit, like sometimes you'll drive in the opposite direction, but it's still the same course I've already gone through before. I think this game also uses a similar style of rubber banding as Mario Kart 64. Now, I don't know if this is because I'm in the 150 class, but it's practically impossible for the racers to be too far apart. Your opponent always manages to catch up to you no matter how fast you're going, and they also make it hard to catch up to other racers when you're falling behind. This leads to moments where you could be in first place, and then you slip on a banana peel or get hit with a shell or something, and then suddenly a horde of other racers zip right past you, dropping you from first to dead last in a single second. I'm honestly trying as hard as I can. Why would they take such a huge step backwards with the AI? But if you are able to pull through, however, finishing a race will reward you with points, and how much you get is based on what place you come in. You can even get bonus points based on the character and kart combinations you went with, and what specific actions you performed during the race. You're also rewarded with up to 5 grand stars based on your total point count for the race, but some of these requirements are absolutely ridiculous. Again, maybe it's the class I'm playing in, but I always seem to max out at 4 because the 5th grand star sometimes requires me to get double the points I got. Like, look at this. To get 1 grand star, I needed 2,000 points. For 2, I needed 3,000. For 3, I needed 3,500. For 4, I needed 4,000. And for 5, I needed... what? 10,000? Don't you think that's a bit of a jump? It really pisses me off because I'm doing the best I can given the limited number of characters and karts I have at my disposal. Okay, so you know how in real Mario Kart games, you can unlock more characters and vehicles just by winning Grand Prix and stuff? It was fair, reasonable, and the complete opposite of how Mario Kart Tour handles it. Instead of a reasonably sized roster of maybe 8 to 12 characters to start with, at launch, you're given Toad or Toadette, and then additional characters have to be bought from the shop. Yeah, remember that joke I made earlier? At least you let me play as Mario from the start. There's a sad amount of truth to that. I managed to unlock a few new characters while recording footage, and one of them was technically Mario, but it was Baby Mario. Wow, way to rub salt on the wound, you dicks. You have to unlock Mario in a Mario Kart game. You have to unlock Mario in a Mario Kart game! Do you not see the problem here? Imagine a game based on Avatar: The Last Airbender, but the only character you could play as from the start was Ty Lee. Nothing wrong with her. She is a precious being that needs to be protected after all. But you don't get Aang, Katara, Sokka, Toph, not even the Boulder until later. You'd be like, what? This doesn't make sense. And yeah, it doesn't! This game is stupid! Oh, but we haven't even gotten to the nitty-gritty. No. So like I said, characters, karts, and other goodies can be bought from the shop. And this is done using coins, which act as a form of in-game currency. Okay, so we finally have a Mario Kart game where coins actually serve a meaningful purpose. But then you've got rubies, which can be dropped off into this pipe, I suppose, to make it fire out new characters and vehicles. And of course, it's gacha-based, so there's always a super slim chance that you'll get something you actually want, or even anything new. Most of the time, you'll get a character or kart that you already have, but it'll gain experience or level up. And this happens all the goddamn time. We know why it's set up this way, so that they can entice you to spend real-world money on driver packs. The microtransactions are just appalling. I hated this in Dr. Mario World, and I hate it even more here, because while the former was gracious enough to put less focus on them over time, this game just doubles down on them, and it completely goes against what Mario Kart has been from the beginning. And they have the gall to include a freaking subscription service. For $5 a month, the Gold Pass gets you more characters, more karts, more items, more bonuses for completing challenges, etc. And I get it. It's a free-to-play game, so the developers have to make money off of it somehow. But the fact that they expect people to pay $40 for a glider shaped like an 8-bit super mushroom or a variant of Mario in a chef costume is completely absurd. Then again, while there's no way in hell I'm dropping a cent on this game, even if I wanted to, what they have to offer isn't exactly enticing. Mario Kart Tour technically has the largest selection of drivers in any Mario Kart game, but that's only because, while some are completely new to the series, like Monty Mole and Kamek finally getting his shot after being cut from Mario Kart 64, most of them are just the same characters, but in different outfits. Now, if these were treated as alternate skins, that would be kind of fun, but this just screams bang. I don't want Mario's One Piece cosplay or Luigi's cultural appropriation cluttering up the roster. And Waluigi as a bus driver? Who'd want to ride in any form of transportation with him behind the wheel? You don't know where he's taking you, he's gonna kill you, it's a trap! But let's say you didn't care about all that stuff and just want to get a few specific characters. Well, then you better get them while you have the chance. See, the reason why this game has the word tour in the title is because tours act as events, and whenever a tour takes place, the same 3 or 4 tracks that repeat over and over are then replaced with another selection of 3 or 4 tracks that repeat over and over, meaning you can't play on any of the other tracks until maybe they're made available again in a future tour, but if and when is impossible to predict. And just in case the process of unlocking new characters wasn't enough of a nipple pincher already, I hope the ones you wanted weren't part of a tour that's no longer active, because from what I can tell, unless they're just insanely rare, if you missed out on the tour those characters were featured in, you're gonna have to wait until next time. And God knows if some of these guys are even gonna get a next time. Donkey Kong Jr. from Super Mario Kart was added to the game at one point. I'd love to play as him. But, ooh, the SNES tour was over a year ago. Guess I should have gotten him then. This is not how Mario Kart should work! Okay, I'm sorry. I mostly try to keep a positive outlook in these videos, but this game just makes it so hard. I don't care if you think I'm exaggerating or that I'm only focusing on the negatives to make the game look bad, because that's never my intention for any game I cover. I don't enjoy needlessly making fun of Nintendo games just for the sake of making fun of them. And who do I look like? Skaz the Watt? Some might argue that it's not that bad on its own, and yeah, when you just focus on the racing mechanics, it's okay, if a little awkward, but it's impossible to ignore the legacy of its predecessors that it frankly just fails at living up to. Mario Kart Tour is a soulless, abysmal, money-grubbing black hole of joy that completely goes against the basic fundamentals of the series. Even watching the footage back to write down notes was giving me a headache. But to be fair, I've been working on these videos for over a month now, so maybe that's just the stress kicking in. Mario Kart's future from this point forward looks pretty bleak in my opinion, which isn't good considering 2022 is the series' 30th anniversary, and during a time where it would make the most sense to release a new game to celebrate. Instead, Nintendo decided to release legacy tracks as downloadable content for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I wouldn't have been against the idea 5 years ago, but if you weren't convinced that Nintendo takes forever to keep up with the times, here's your proof. The Booster Course Pass is available for free with the Switch Online expansion, that's how I'm playing it, and it's nice to see Mario Kart Tour tracks live on in a Mario Kart game that's actually good. Just call me when they add Wario Coliseum or Double Dash's Rainbow Road. I'll take back most of what I said. Oh my God, but this wasn't supposed to be a Mario Kart obituary. This is about Mario's mobile gaming career, and I think it's safe to say it's had some ups and downs over the past 6 years or so. Nintendo is still supporting the mobile market to some degree, however. They've made over $1 billion in just mobile gaming alone, with Fire Emblem Heroes being their biggest source of income. Somehow. What the hell is a Pass? And Pokemon games you can play on your phone are a dime a dozen, with Pokemon Go in particular still taking the world by storm. I'm assuming, anyway. There's no doubt Nintendo's faced a bit of struggle when bringing their own properties to mobile phones. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp seems like a neglected stepchild that could really be more than what it is. Pikmin Bloom is a thing, and even Mario doesn't seem to be completely committed to the platform. But if he does try his hand at mobile gaming again in the future, maybe they could revive some of his older, more obscure titles, like Yoshi's Cookie, Wario's Woods, Mario's Picross, or really any of those old puzzle games would be a perfect fit for mobile phones. Wait. Do you smell that? It smells like foreshadowing. Oh my stars, what a cliffhanger. But anyway, Haldo, thanks for watching everybody, and as always, I'd like to give a very special thank you to my superstar supporters, Red Rack, Henry Newman, Rachel Rodriguez, and Jake Winans. If you'd like to support me as well, please consider pledging to my Patreon page, buying me a coffee, or becoming a sponsor by clicking the join button. Membership options give you the same benefits as my Patreon, including being able to watch videos before they come out, getting access to exclusive content like getting to read the scripts for all my videos and stuff, and getting shoutouts at the end of my videos. This is all completely optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but it's there if you want to give it a look, and it really does help out the channel a lot. And in case you didn't see my most recent update video, now that Summer of Mario has officially kicked off, I'm going to be streaming a lot of Mario games over on my Twitch channel. Every Monday and Wednesday up until a certain point, I'm going to be streaming a different Mario game. I haven't decided which games I'm going to be doing for both days, or if I'm just going to do something different every day. I know one of them I want to do is Super Mario Odyssey, and I think I'm going to do that on Mondays. Fridays are still going to be reserved for Jackbox Party Pack and Use Your Words and stuff, but Monday and Wednesday, I'm going to be playing Mario games. If you'd like to tune in, then go follow me on Twitch if you haven't already. It's going to be a lot of fun. Links to my social media and Discord server are in the description, and if you want to stay updated on my future uploads, then be sure to click the little notification bell next to the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. Summer of Mario is officially upon us. I got a lot more videos to work on. So with that said, this is Marc, bidding you all a smashing farewell. Take care.